Teaching boys emotional intelligence is what our conversation centers on today. This entails helping boys express emotions without shame. Let's get into it. In many societies, boys are often raised with the belief that showing emotions is a sign of weakness. Phrases such as boys can't cry or boys don't cry, man up, or be strong have shaped generations of boys into men who struggle to express their feelings openly. While strength and resilience are important qualities, emotional suppression can lead to anger, loneliness, poor communications, depression, and unhealthy relationships. Teaching boys emotional intelligence is one of the most important responsibilities of parents, teachers, mentors, and the society at large. Emotional intelligence helps boys understand their emotions, manage them properly, empathize with others, and build healthy relationships. When boys are taught that emotions are normal and healthy, they grow into emotionally balanced men who can lead, love, communicate, and handle challenges wisely. In today's section, I will be talking about importance of emotional intelligence in boys, the danger of emotional suppression, and practical ways to help boys express emotions without shame. Hello, welcome again to my corner, my thoughts. My name is Emmanuel Habue. Okay, emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and appropriately express emotions while also understanding the emotions of others. It basically includes things like self-awareness, recognizing one's emotions. It also includes self-regulation, which is controlling reactions and impulses. It also includes things like empathy, understanding other people's feelings. Also includes social skills, communicating and relating effectively. And it also includes motivation, which is using emotions positively to achieve goals. So a boy with emotional intelligence does not become weak or overly emotional. Instead, he becomes emotionally healthy, confident, self-controlled, and mature. I'm thinking aloud, why do boys struggle to express emotions? From an early age, many boys receive messages that discourage emotional openness. Society often celebrates toughness in boys while criticizing vulnerability. As a result, boys may learn to hide fear, sadness, disappointment, or even anxiety. Now, let's talk about reasons why boys struggle emotionally. There are a lot of reasons why a boy child struggle emotionally. One is it could be for the fear of appearing weak. Every boy wants to be strong because their father also appeared to be strong, or their uncle. It could also be for the reason of peer pressure and being ridiculed, or cultural expectations of masculinity, or lack of emotionally expressive male role model, or punishment for crying or showing vulnerability. Also, media portrays that glorify emotionally distant men. You know media now, what they portray men look or boys look. So over time, boys may stop expressing emotions altogether. Instead of communicating sadness, they may now display anger, aggression, silence, or withdrawal. And you won't know what the cause is. So another side to this is the danger of emotional suppression. When boys are taught to suppress emotions, the effects can be damaging both in childhood and adulthood. So when you see some adult men behaving somehow, it's because their emotions have been hurt. They were not taught how to express themselves emotionally. So emotional suppression may lead to anger and aggression. Unexpressed pain often appears as anger. Boys who cannot talk about hurt feelings may become aggressive or violent. It could also result to mental health challenges like depression, anxiety, loneliness, and emotional stress are some common, or they are very common among individuals who consistently hide emotions. Another one is poor relationships. Men who struggle emotionally may find it difficult to communicate with their spouses, their friends, their children, their co-workers, because they could not communicate their emotions. Another is low self-esteem. A boy who feels ashamed of his emotions may begin to believe something is wrong with him. So automatically, he has low self-esteem. Substance abuse also, and risky behaviors. Boys turn to drug, alcohol, gambling, or destructive habits as unhealthy coping mechanism. So helping boys process emotions early can prevent many long life struggles. Many issues we have in our communities, if you can help a boy child to be able to cope with his emotions, it will help him in life. So now, let's go to this part that talked about how can we create emotionally safe environment for the boy child. Boys express emotions best when they feel safe, accepted, and understood. Adults must intentionally create environments where emotional honesty is welcome rather than mocked. We need to normalize emotions. We need to teach boys that all emotions are human and normal. Happiness is normal, sadness is normal, fear, frustration, disappointment, excitement, and anxiety are all part of life. All these emotions are all part of life. So instead of saying things like, stop crying, be a man, man up, can't you see that boys don't cry? We will say things like, I understand you are hurting, boy. It's okay to feel sad. Tell me what is bothering you. When you expose the boy child to this, they now know that yes, they have opportunity to also express their feelings. So when boys realize that emotions are acceptable, they become more willing to communicate. Also, we need to teach the boy child emotional vocabularies. I call it emotional vocabularies because many boys struggles not because they lack feelings, but because they lack the word to describe them. So we need to help the boy to identify emotions clearly. So instead of only saying good or bad, we need to teach them what's like disappointed. If the boy child feels disappointed, let him say it. I'm disappointed. If you feel embarrassed, let him say so. Use words like disappointed, embarrassed, frustrated, anxious, lonely, confused, hopeful, grateful. All these words will help the boy child. So the more emotionally literate boys become, the easier it is for them to express themselves appropriately. Also, we need to help them to model emotional openness. So we need to serve as emotional open people. So children learn more from observation than instructions. So we, the fathers, the uncles, the teachers, the sheikhs, the imams, the pastors, the coaches, and male mentors, we need to model healthy emotional expression. So a boy who hears his dad or his mentor, or a man that says, I feel disappointed today, we know that, oh, this feeling is normal. Or I was nervous before my presentation. We also know that, okay, this kind of emotion is normal. Or I am proud of you. All those things will make the boy to know that, okay, these are normal. So we need to learn that emotional honesty is not weakness but maturity. Strong men are not emotionless men, they are emotionally responsible men. Another way is we need to listen without judgment, especially African mothers, African fathers, African uncles. We need to listen without judgment. Sometimes boys simply need someone who will listen without criticism or interruption. We need to avoid dismissing their emotions with statements such as, that's not a big deal, you are overreacting, forget about it. Instead, we should use words like, listen patiently. We should listen patiently. We should also maintain eye contact with them. We should ask questions gently. We should validate their feelings. So if we are able to do all those things, it will help them. So being heard help boys feel valued and understood. So every boy child wants to be heard. They want someone that will listen to them. So teaching emotional intelligence intelligence also involve helping boys manage difficult feelings in healthy ways. Some of the ways that we can teach them is, or we can help them, is anger management. We need to teach the boy child that anger itself is not wrong, but how they express it matters. We need to encourage healthy responses, such as deep breathing. So take a deep breath. Taking a walk when you are angry or something, or talk calmly when you are angry, or journaling, can write it out, or praying and meditating also help, or physical exercise help. So when you are angry, you can do all those things. So we need to help them to understand that violence, insult, or destructions are unhealthy emotional reactions to anger. Also, we need to another one is maybe teaching empathy. We need to teach them empathy. So empathy helps the boy to become compassionate and respectful. We need to ask reflective questions like, how do you think your friend felt? So if he's able to if he's able to answer this question, it will help him. Or what would you feel in that situation? So empathy strengthens friendship, leadership skills, and future family relationships. So we need to teach them empathy, putting themselves in, feeling what others are feeling. Also, we need to encourage healthy relationships. Boys need safe friendship where they can communicate honestly without fear of ridicule. We need to encourage relationships built on respect, trust, and encouragement rather than competition alone. So guys don't need competitive environment too much. They need also compensation. So we need to let them quickly talk about the rules. Okay. Uh, let me talk about the roles of fathers and mentors. Fathers and male mentors play a powerful role in shaping boys emotionally. And a father's emotional presence often determines how comfortable a boy becomes with vulnerability and communication. And when fathers are emotionally available, boys learn that masculinity includes or involves kindness, patience, honesty, empathy, humility, emotional responsibility. So, but unfortunately, many men were never taught emotional intelligence themselves. A lot of us, or a lot of men, grew up without having that kind of conversation or opportunity to learn emotional intelligence. But breaking this circle requires intentional learning and openness. So men themselves need to also relearn and be open. So a father who hugs his son, apologizes when wrong, communicates calmly, and listens attentively teaches emotional intelligence daily. We also need to teach emotional intelligence in school, in the church, and also youth organizations. So every of these gathering influences the boy child emotional development. Adults working with boys also need to encourage open discussions. They need to avoid mocking emotional expression. So when a boy is emotional or is expressing himself emotionally, the adults that are taking care of them should not mock them. We also need to teach conflict resolution. We don't fight all the time. There are other diplomatic way of settling issues. We need to support mental health awareness, create mentorship opportunities, and celebrate kindness and empathy. So boys should know that asking for help is courageous and not shameful. Also, we need to teach the boy child that strength includes vulnerability. Strength includes vulnerability. And one of the greatest lessons boys must learn is that vulnerability and strength can coexist. They can exist together. Vulnerability and strength can exist together. Also, true courage is not pretending to feel nothing. It is facing emotions honestly and responsibly. A boy who can say, I am struggling, I need help, I feel hurt, or I was wrong, is developing maturity and emotional wisdom. So, emotionally intelligent boys become healthier husbands, or fathers, leaders, employees, friends, and community members. So, we now need to know, especially the carers, the guardians, the mentors, the parents, we can build emotional intelligence through simple daily habits. We need to ask the boy child daily how they feel. We need to particularly show concern about their feelings. We need to spend quality one-on-one time together. Also encourage open conversations. Read stories that discuss emotions and empathy. We also need to teach conflict resolution peacefully and praise honestly and emotional openness. Also avoid humiliating the boy child publicly. We need to also celebrate kindness as much as achievement. We also need to allow boys to cry without shame. Let them express their feelings. We also need to teach prayers and reflections as emotional outlets. All right, so I'm going to conclude by saying that we need, by saying teaching boys emotional intelligence is not about making boys weak. It is about helping them become emotionally healthy, confident, passionate, and responsible men. So, boys who are allowed to express emotions without shame develop stronger relationships, better mental health, improved communication skills, and healthy ways of handling life's challenges. Society must move beyond harmful stereotypes that discourage emotional expression in boys. Parents, teachers, mosques, churches, mentors, and communities all have a responsibility to raise boys who understand that emotions are part of humanity, not a threat to masculinity. When boys are taught emotional intelligence, they grow into men who can lead with wisdom, love with sincerity, communicate with maturity, and live with emotional balance. So, the future of families, communities, and society depends greatly on raising emotionally healthy boys today. If we want responsible men, we need to build responsible boys. Thank you for listening and see you some other time. Bye.